Hey, welcome back everyone. I'm the Gerbil. Today's modding video guide for the new MACE Vanguard is all about Depa, Billaba, whatever. Anyway, this one is pretty straightforward, but there is some caveats. So I'm going to break down the kit item by item. I'm going to look at team synergies. I'm going to look at bonuses provided by her allies and by MACE's leadership and make the most logical recommendation I can on what mods to put on her. Now, with that said, this is the third in this series. I've already completed the modding guide for Isla and for Temple Guard. I hope you check those out. Temple Guard in particular is a really interesting one to mod that I think some of the best modders out there have already gotten wrong. I will quickly summarize that real fast and then we'll move on. First off, people are recommending all protection across the board as slow as you can, and I think that is a tremendous mistake. The Temple Guard has all kinds of avenues to taunt. Yes, capture is really, really nice, but he has an AoE ability block. That means ability block on the entire enemy team. Now, it has a cooldown of 3. However, Mace Windu, legendary Mace Windu, has a cooldown reduction on his basic if you're targeting an enemy with Shatterpoint. That drops the cooldown such that, in theory, Temple Guard could be attempting an AoE ability block every time he takes a turn. So if you're going to put your team on offense, I think Temple Guard needs potency. He needs lots of potency. Now, with that said, let's move into the show of the hour, which is Depa Billaba. All right, so we know she's an attacker. She's in game. She's doing well. And the top 100 guilds right now, this is where they are modding her. It is pretty much all over the place. The common thread is offense, health, and speed. At the very, very bottom, there's like 2% of the people are putting some speed on her. But offense, crit chance are the big ones. I'm going to say this is not the way. Right off the top, this is probably not the way. Offense, I think, is fine. Crit chance is not needed on her. We will explain that very quickly. As all my modding guides go, I'm going to look at the character's abilities. I'm going to look at the leadership provided by their leader, Mace, and then I'm going to look at the uniques provided by the team and what they do to the unmodded stats of the character. Then from there, we will make a decision on what stats need to be improved. Okay, so raw base stats at Relic 7 and 9 are as follows. Now, Billaba is going to get more benefit out of her team than any one character does. She has itemized callouts from Mace Windu. She gets a ton of benefits from Isla, and she's going to be a sincere heavy hitter once all these synergies come into play. Specifically, Isla is going to increase her health, her protection, her potency, and her tenacity, while Mace Windu is going to increase her speed, her critical damage, her offense, and her crit chance. In addition, she's going to get additional bonuses that are not indicated on this screen, but I'll share from Temple Guard. All right, so where to focus? My recommendation, number one, is offense, whether that's an offense mod set or a critical damage mod set. Personally, I'm going to go with the critical damage mod set, and I'll explain in a second. Secondarily, she's going to need potency, probably not health. And then third, you want speed. You want to make her as fast as possible. So her base speed is 171. However, under Mace's leadership, she's going to gain 20 speed. That's going to push her up to an unmodded 191. And there's an avenue by which she will start with some turn meter, I do believe. I got to go back and review on that one. So she's going to be fast already, but make her even faster. My target for a new squad like this is going to be pushing about 140 speed bonus from her mods. So I'll get to those in a second. As I said, Mace is going to give her critical chance, critical damage, and offense. So right here is why you do not need a critical chance mod set on her. Purely from Mace's leadership already, she's going to be rocking a 95% critical chance rate at Relic 7. At Relic 9, that pushes up into almost 100%. If you put just some light critical chance secondaries, it's very, very, very easy to get her up to like 110, 115%. And having the mod set on there, a crit mod set only gives you, I think, 8%. It's just absolutely not worth it at this level. The return on that investment is negligible. Isla, as I said, is going to give her 30% health and protection, but the protection could disappear if Isla dies, so it's a caveat. She's going to give her 30% potency and 30% tenacity. Depa herself is going to grant herself an additional 25%, which we'll look at, and 70% counter chance. And then in GAC, Temple Guard just gives her nonsense, like stupid stuff. Okay, so now that's the overview. Here's how I'm modding item by item. After this, I'm going to break it down and justify these decisions. So feel free to screenshot this now, but I will share it again towards the end of the video. And as always, folks, if this video was helpful, please give me that like and that subscribe. I do appreciate it. It's free and it makes me just feel good in here. Okay, so I'm running a critical damage mod set and I'm running a potency. The potency, as I said, is very, very important. On Temple Guard, I think it's very important on Depa also, and we'll look at why as we break down the kit. My targets are on the top over here, top left of, or top right of the screen probably. Anyway, it says speed. My goal there is a minimum. This is a base plus mod of 315. This is before MACE kicks in, so MACE is going to give her another 20%, right? So this is before the team synergy. This is just straight up Relic 7 plus mods, right? I'm not factoring in the bonuses down below over there because those you won't see when you're looking at your character screen. So I'm aiming for a 315 speed. That's a plus 140-ish. I'm looking at 80% potency, 7,500 damage, 65% critical chance, and 222% critical damage. Oh boy. On top of that, then we're going to get the bonuses listed over there, right? So after we put those mods on, then you can add in these bonuses, and that's what I'm aiming for. Okay, so let's look at my rationale and justifications. We're going to start up here at the basic Serene Blade. Deal physical damage, full stop. If you're not in a Jedi Vanguard team, that's pretty much all you're going to get. Just damage across the board. But Depa's going to be on a Jedi Vanguard team eventually. So what I've done is I've underlined all these abilities, offensive related specifics in yellow, potency related abilities in white, and then health and protection related abilities in green, so we can figure out where we're going to get the most bang for our buck. So basic again, during Depa's turn, inflict vulnerable. That is a resistible debuff. Vulnerable means the next time you hit him, it's guaranteed to be a critical hit, okay? This is why I want critical damage on her. If you're gonna inflict her with critical hit, or we're gonna inflict the target with vulnerable, then you are guaranteeing a critical hit the next time you swing at him. I want that next hit to be even bigger with critical damage. It's also a reason you don't need so much critical chance. At the bottom of this, it says, if all allies were Vanguard at the start of the battle, this attack deals 25% more damage until her next turn. Now this means when she's called in to assist, meaning when she's attacking and it is not her own turn. She's going to be doing this potentially a lot. So the more offensive power we put on her, the more she's going to hit over and over again. Now, interestingly, oh, nope, scratch that. I had a stray thought. Moving on. Now the second one, I don't know how to pronounce that. Vapid, disciple, whatever. Right here, inflict healing immunity. Folks, healing immunity should not be overlooked. How many times, and I guarantee you can think of it immediately, where you have struggled or outright lost GACs or whatever battle because you just couldn't kill someone when they kept healing. Whether you timed out against crew or Lord Vader or something, you just kept hitting them and they just kept healing. Healing immunity is more powerful than a big hit. In many cases, if you can prevent them from healing, then eventually they will die if you keep hitting them. However, if you keep hitting them for a lot and they keep healing for a lot, you will not win. Period. It's very simple logic. So healing immunity is the first thing in this ability. It has a cooldown of 3, and under Mace Windu's basic ability, the cooldowns get dropped. Therefore, you want to inflict healing ability frequently. You land this healing ability on them and your enemies are more likely to die. That means potency. So we've got guaranteed critical hits and we've got healing immunity, potency. And her potency is one of the lowest stats she has. So we want to increase that. After you inflict the healing immunity, then deal physical damage to the enemy. Cool. Then if Jace, Jedi Master Mace, is the leader, this hit is going to do an additional 50% more damage. 50% more damage is also, ironically, why you don't necessarily need an offense, and critical damage may be more important, I think. Anyway, moving on. Second special ability, Will of the Council. I'm just going to skip to the underlines. Deal bonus physical damage to all enemies. AoE, offense, you want that if they had Shatterpoint. All right, that's again Mace's leadership, and his basic's going to do that, I think. Then deal physical damage to all enemies. Look at that. Deal physical damage to all enemies with Shatterpoint. Then deal physical damage again to all enemies. So that's double the hits. Again, I think double the hits with high critical damage is going to be way more impactful. If you do the math, it should be at this level also. Further, you move on down. Jedi Vanguard allies gain critical damage up. That includes herself. And defense penetration up. That includes herself. So plain and simple, she's going to be hitting a lot for a lot of damage, which definitely means you want an offense focus. Again, whether it's offense mods or critical damage mods, they're both going to do well. Now, the special, though, or the unique, is where things start to get interesting, and I had to add some speed in here. So Depa has a 70% chance to counter. If you recall in her basic, it said if she attacks and it's not her turn, it does 25% damage stacking. This is where you really are going to see that benefit. If the enemy hits her, AoE, direct target, whatever, she's got a 70% chance to counter strike, just similar to Isla. This is going to start hitting for that 25% bonus damage stacking, right? And then if you have ways to call assist, you'll get even more out of that. She's going to get an additional 25% offense here. So when you're calculating your damage, your mod stats, you can put that in there. And then she's going to recover 15% health and protection whenever she's inflicted with a debuff, which is interestingly why you probably don't want her to have too high of tenacity. And you want her to heal a lot because she's actually kind of a wet noodle so far. She falls over real fast in all my testing, but it's early, it's anecdotal, we'll see. If Mace Windu is the leader, and he should be, Depa's going to gain 30% turn meter at the start of each encounter. Now, because of that, you don't need her to be super fast to get the ball going. And honestly, what you want to do is probably open up with your first special to land healing immunity on somebody. That's like, you don't want to open up with the AoE because the enemies aren't shatter pointed yet, not likely. I got to go back and really digest Mace Windu's kit, but they're not going to have the shatter point. You want Mace to apply some shatter point, then you want her to start AoEing. So she's going to go first, similar to Kyle and a Mon Mothma squad. You want to hit healing immunity as quickly as you can, and then you want to drill down on someone. Now, whenever an enemy is inflicted with Shatterpoint, she's going to gain an advantage, which guarantees her next hit will be on any target. Regardless of vulnerable or not, the next target will be a critical hit, right? That's what advantage is. So this is, again, meaning you don't need critical chance mods on her, because this is just this is like a unique, it's permanently in her kit. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with Shatterpoint, gain advantage. And she's going to get that advantage easily because Mace is going to be handing out Shatterpoint like candy. Next, if all allies blah blah blah, Depa gains speed up for 2 turns. That's 25% more speed. So you want her to go fast, you want her to hit frequently. You also want her to spam her healing immunity, which is again why speed's an advantage. And there's a real argument here to be made that you actually want her to be kind of slow so that she takes more attacks in between turns with that stacking 25%. But I don't think that really is the way. Usually, the winner wants the ball. And if you're passively sitting back, letting your attacker get hit and relying on the counter chance, then there's a good probability she's going to get hit hard enough and fall down. You don't want that. So I would very much argue speed is your friend, especially if you can get her up into like 320, 330 range with Mace leadership, then she's going to get the speed up really easy. And when she's got that speed up, now she's pushing closer to 400 plus speed. That's going to be like looping some people. So it's really great. Now in territory battles, it's territory battles. She's awesome. I'm not going to read it, but you're welcome to check it out. But if we look at this slide, the main emphasis here is offense and, offense. Critical chance, or 25% offense, gaining advantage, meaning critical hits, and then 70% chance to counter. with stacking offense when that happens. All right, now if we look at MACE, MACE does so much for her. At the start of the battle, Jedi allies gain 20% critical chance, critical damage, and offense, and 10 speed. That's great, except light item call out here for Depa. She's going to gain double those. So 40% critical chance. Again, you don't need critical chance mods with that. Now she's at 100% critical chance almost. She's going to gain 40% critical damage, 40% offense, plus that 25 already in her kit. All Jedi Vanguard are going to gain offense up with Mace's ability there. That's the second underline in yellow. The third underline says call Depa to assist. That's going to potentially inflict that vulnerable if the target had Shatterpoint, because Mace is going to go apply Shatterpoint. Depa's going to attack with the assist. Potency, apply vulnerable. Depa's turn, slap him, right? Critical hit. So you want her to probably want her to be slightly slower than Mace. You want Mace to be applying the Shatterpoint, calling her to assist. Then, if the target enemy was revealed, call all Jedi allies to assist. Again, another assist, another opportunity to apply vulnerable so that the following hit lands and triggers the critical hit. And if Depa is an ally, she assists again. So I want you to think about this. You got 5 allies, okay? Mace calls everybody to assist. Hit, 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 hopefully. Now, if you have no potency, what happens is damage, 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 Depa attacks again, damage. But if you had potency on her and you land the vulnerable, let's say Mace attacks, someone attacks, Depa swings, lands the vulnerable, next person hits, critical hit guaranteed, the 15 meter assist, then Depa assists again, lands vulnerable again, the next turn guaranteed critical hit for whoever goes next. You see, that potency is going to be really important because you have right here an opportunity to line up guaranteed 2 critical hits regardless of their crit avoidance, regardless of your critical chances having that mod or not. So very, very, very important stuff. If we look at Isla's kit, I've talked about this ad nauseum in the others, 30% health, protection, conditional, 30% potency, 30% tenacity. Then whenever Isla uses a special ability, she's going to call a random attacker ally to assist. Now, you're going to have 3 attackers likely in this squad. You're going to have Depa, you're going to have Mace. Yeah, so she's going to want that potency to land the vulnerable. Then also in Isla's kit, 35% chance to call and assist whenever she uses a basic. So you have a small but reasonable chance that Depa's going to be assisting again. Then in Grand Arenas, with the Temple Guard's GAC Omicron, caveat that it can't be any GLs, but if there are no GLs, then here Depa's going to gain an additional 100% defense, potency, and 100% more offense. In this situation, potency mods are just going to be kind of worthless, and this is a great argument that if all you care about is GAC, and you put that Omicron on the Temple Guard, then in this situation, yeah, health mod is probably going to be your best alternative or your number 1 option, actually. But if you're going to be also like a territory battle player and you're going to use them in territory wars in particular, then this GAC Omicron won't be in effect, and so you're not going to have that potency advantage. And I'm absolutely like kicking myself right now to remember who the 5th team member is. It'll come to me in a second. Anyway, so this is the second to final screen. Just once again reminding where are her stats based on ally kits. Oh, Jocasta knew. But Jocasta's not going to give her anything. Like nothing's going to happen with Jocasta, but she is that 3rd attacker. Anyway, so these are the pre-modded stats based on ally and self kit bonuses. So big, huge jump in offense, right? But that's the 65% from Mace and Depa, and that's the 40% critical damage right there, right? So my target is going to be, like I said, 7,500 damage. So then multiply that by 1.65 to figure out what that's going to be, and it's going to be like closer to 12,000 damage. So pretty high. Anyway, folks, so here's my final recommendations for modding, and then my personal targets. That is just the base plus mod. See, not including those characters' abilities. Those are in the bottom over there, wherever. Whatever, folks. I hope you got something out of this. if you don't agree, let me know in the comments. This is one of the things that makes SWGOH a lot of fun, is that when you go into a battle, your character meets my character. If they're the same gear level, then their stats are identical unless we mod them differently. And the variation of mods make a huge, huge difference when it comes to speed, turn order, offense, health, whatever. So there's no right way necessarily to mod a lot of characters. And I think the Depa is one of those that, while the offense or crit damage set is a no-brainer, the secondaries, is it going to be health? Is it going to be potency? Heck, do you want to have a defense? I wouldn't, but I mean, I doesn't argue for it. But yeah, I'm going to recommend number one, potency as your secondary set, health as your second option. And then if you're not going to go either of those, I mean, you can never go wrong with tenacity, but remember, whenever she is debuffed, she's going to recover 15% health and protection, which means like if an enemy's like squad, like think Captain Rex lands 3 debuffs on her with his AoE, poof, she's just recovered half of her health and protection, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing to get debuffed sometimes. I mean, it definitely is when it's like stun or fear, but it's not always a bad thing. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Please hit the like, hit the sub, and I will catch you in the next video when we look at Jocasta Nu, and then I will wrap up this series with Mace Windu, Legendary Mace Windu. And then sometime in a week or so, I will drop a video just doing a fast overview of a Keller and Beck leftover Vanguard team. All right, thanks for watching. Catch you later. Bye-bye.